Today, I will explain a historical truth that will not only ignite a spark of determination in your heart, but will also teach you that if you have genuine passion for something, you can cross an entire ocean with a small boat. The story begins with a young boy named Thor Heyerdahl. There is some water frozen in the middle of the ice with two slabs of ice floating on it. On the second ice slab, there is a saw. None of the children want to go there, but Thor goes. Everyone tries to stop him, but as he's coming back, his foot slips into the water and he starts to drown. But then, another child pulls him up from the water. Thor is brought home, and his father says, "I think you've learned a lesson today. Promise me you will never take such risks again." But Thor doesn't respond to his father. As time passes, it becomes 1977. Thor is now grown up. He is an ethnographer and an adventurer. He is now on a beach in Polynesia. Polynesia is very famous. It is a region with more than 1,000 islands. However, some of these islands are independent countries, while most of the islands are under the control of other nations. Thor now lives there. He is studying the lives and cultures of the people. One day, Thor is sitting next to an old man with his girlfriend. He asks the elderly man, "Where did your ancestors come from?" The old man says, "Tiki, the sun god. Our gods brought us here, from the land on the other side of the ocean." He points towards the east. Thor is amazed. He asks, "From the east?" The old man replies, "Everything comes from the east. The sun, the wind, the thunder, all of it. And our ancestors came from the east traveling westward. They started their journey from the direction of the rising sun, and the sun guided them on their way." Then the old man takes Thor to a place where there is a very ancient statue of a god. It is their Tiki god. Actually, according to history, the people who live on the Polynesian islands came from Asia. But the old man didn't know any of this. He only spoke what he had heard from his ancestors, that their ancestors did not come from Asia, but rather from South America. Thor is completely stunned by this. Now, the year shown is 1946. Thor has been researching this for the last 10 years. He has written several theses and now goes to meet a publisher. After spending 10 years living on the Polynesian islands and living among the people there, he has come to the conclusion that the old man's story is absolutely correct. The people of Polynesia did not come from Asia, but from South America. He meets with the publisher, but the publisher refuses to publish his theory or book. The publisher says, "The accepted theory so far is this: all the people on the Polynesian islands came from Asia. And you will never be able to prove your theory because 1,500 years ago, when the people arrived on these islands, the people of South America did not have boats or technology that could have carried them across such a vast ocean."
Even with all of this, the publisher says, "This is why no one will believe your theory." Thor replies, "They came here on a raft." Hearing this, the publisher laughs. He says, "If that's your theory, if that's your proof, then do one thing. Go from Peru to Polynesia. And if you can do that, and do it on a raft, then I will publish your book, your theory." And he says this because crossing such a vast ocean with a raft is nearly impossible. The journey is so long and the dangers and waves in the ocean are so great that it would be impossible to cross with a small raft. Now Thor has only one way left to prove his theory. He must travel from South America to the Polynesian islands. And this journey is more than 8,000 kilometers in an ocean where even huge ships sink. For this, Thor needs funding. He goes to a magazine office and says, "I will travel 8,000 kilometers from South America to the heart of Polynesia. And I will do this on a wooden raft, just like the ones used 1,500 years ago, with no comforts, no safety." The magazine officials refuse to fund him. They say, "We don't fund suicides." Anyway, even a school child knows that the Polynesians were discovered by Asians, not South Americans. But according to Thor, before Columbus reached America, the people of South America had already reached the Polynesian islands. Thor then goes to a restaurant where a group of professionals who have worked at sea for many years are sitting. He shows them a sketch of a raft and says, "This will be called Kon-Tiki. And with this raft, 5 of us will travel from Peru to Polynesia, a distance of over 8,000 kilometers." One of the men says, "I've been on a raft in the Atlantic Ocean for 22 days, but completing this journey is impossible. Because in such a vast sea, you won't be able to control a small raft. You won't be able to navigate it. And the design you've made, with the wooden planks you plan to tie together with rope, the ropes will snap within days. Then we'll be stuck at sea. And then the only thing left for us to do will be wait for death." After hearing this, Thor leaves the restaurant. Just then, a man sitting at the restaurant, whose name is Herman, has been listening to everything carefully. He approaches Thor and says, "I really like your idea for the raft. I want to join you." Thor asks, "Are you a sailor?" Herman replies, "No, but neither are you." He reveals that he is an engineer but currently works selling refrigerators. Thor invites him to join his team. And that's how Thor gets the first member of his crew. But the biggest problem still remains: funding. Thor calls home and talks to his wife Liv. He says, "I won't be able to come home this Christmas because I'm going directly to Peru." His wife tells him not to do it. Thor says, "If I don't do this, I'll be finished. I have spent 10 years of my life on this theory. Now I have to do it." His wife says, "You don't even know how to swim, and you have children with you." But Thor wants to follow his dream. So instead of returning home for Christmas, he goes directly to Peru. There, 3 more companions join him, who will accompany him on this journey. That makes a total of 5 people. They are sitting on huge wooden logs, and Thor tells them, "With these logs we'll build the raft, and the method will be exactly the same as it was 1500 years ago."
He must travel from South America to the Polynesian islands. And this journey is more than 8,000 kilometers, in an ocean where even huge ships sink. For this, Thor needs funding. He goes to a wealthy individual and says, "I want to prove that the people of Polynesia are descendants of the people here, meaning they are from here." Hearing this, the wealthy person is surprised, but he agrees to financially support Thor. This way, Thor and his team receive the funds necessary for their journey. News of their expedition is published in the newspapers. A photographer comes to join Thor's team to document the entire journey. They finish building their raft, and many people come to the shore to bid them farewell. Everyone thinks they may never see them again, as this journey is very dangerous. They are about to set off into the vast ocean on a small wooden raft. With these 6 people, they have a 1,500-year-old style wooden raft, some food, a small safety boat, and a radio. The raft slowly begins to drift out into the deep sea. One night, while everyone is asleep, a violent storm suddenly hits. Thor is lowering the raft sail when a powerful wave knocks him into the water. Thor doesn't know how to swim, but his companions immediately pull him back up. In other words, he returns to the raft. This way, Thor's life is saved by a close call. The next morning, when the sea calms down, they see that the raft has been severely damaged. They all begin to repair the raft. 4 days have passed on the raft. Slowly, they are moving toward their destination. But the ocean is never easy. Suddenly, they spot a giant whale in the sea. As they are filming it with the camera, Herman, who was Thor's first companion, gets scared because the whale is passing directly underneath their raft. He picks up a sharp weapon tied to a rope and prepares to throw it. One of his companions says, "Put that down," but Herman doesn't listen. He throws the weapon toward the whale and it strikes the whale's body. Now the whale begins to dive underwater, and since the weapon is tied to a rope, the raft starts to spin. The raft almost capsizes, but with great effort, they manage to stabilize it. After this incident, Herman and one of the other crew members start to argue. Thor says, "No one will argue on the raft. If anyone has something to say, I will say it, because I am in charge of this raft." The days pass. Their radio also breaks down. Now they cannot communicate with anyone outside. Slowly, Herman's mental state begins to deteriorate. He starts to suspect that the wood is soaking up water and the ropes tying the wood together will soon snap. At that point, they'll all drown. In fact, the man Thor had first met at the restaurant had said such things, and now those fears are spinning in Herman's mind. The photographer who had come along to document the entire journey climbs into his safety airboat and drifts some distance away from the raft so that he can capture everything on camera. But just then, a massive shark emerged from beneath the water. A swarm of sharks begins circling them, any of which could attack the raft at any moment and kill everyone. Before anyone else notices, Thor sees the shark and quickly pulls the rope of the airboat. Thor quickly pulled the rope and lifted the man back onto the boat, saving his life at the very last moment. But in the ocean, death hides in every corner. Danger is everywhere. One member of the team had a pet parrot. One day, the parrot sat on the water's surface, and suddenly a shark appeared and swallowed it. He was deeply hurt by this. Later, when the same shark came close to their raft, he grabbed the shark's tail. Everyone pulled him up, and together they killed the shark. Blood spread through the water, attracting many more sharks. Soon, countless sharks began circling their raft. Herman became terrified. He brought a box filled with long steel wires. He told Thor, "There is only one way to survive. We must tie our raft with these steel wires, or none of us will make it." But Thor replied, "We will continue exactly the way they did 1,500 years ago," and he threw all the steel wires into the sea. Herman's mind wasn't working properly anymore. Suddenly, he slipped and fell into the water. Before the sharks could bite him, his teammates quickly pulled him back up. After getting on the raft, Herman apologized to everyone, knowing he had been wrong. Now their biggest problem was they had no idea whether they were heading in the right direction. Their navigator, Eric, said they might be lost, but Thor was confident they were on the right path. After such a long journey, everyone was physically and mentally exhausted. One day, Eric, their navigator, used an ancient tool called a sextant to calculate their position. Then he came to Thor and said, "We are exactly on the right course. We are heading toward Polynesia." After almost 3 months, joy returned to the raft for the first time. Everyone hugged each other. At that exact moment, their radio started working again. They sent coded messages to the outside world, explaining how 1,500 years ago, people traveled from Peru to Polynesia on a wooden raft. As soon as this news spread, it caused a sensation around the world because the long-believed theory about Polynesian history was about to change forever. On August 7, 1947, when they had completed 101 days at sea, one of the crew members saw a bird flying in the sky early in the morning. The whole team cheered with joy. A bird meant land was near. They realized they were very close to their destination. Soon after, they saw an island ahead, the place they had been looking for. But reaching the island wasn't easy. They had to face giant waves, so they made a plan. Herman said, "After every 12 waves, the 13th wave is the biggest one. We must anchor the raft, and before the 13th wave arrives, we must pull the anchor up. That big wave will push us straight onto the shore." They dropped the anchor, but the rope broke on the 10th wave, and the raft began drifting with the current. Fortunately, luck was on their side. They finally reached the sandy beach. This impossible journey, which everyone believed could never be completed, was finished by these 6 men. Not only did they make history, they changed history. If a person has positive thinking, determination, belief in themselves, and complete dedication to their goal, then nothing in this world is impossible for you or me.